Momentum machine. Create habits that drive lifelong productivity. Introduction. The secret force behind every high achiever. Walk into any bookstore, browse any productivity blog, or watch any successful entrepreneur being interviewed, and you will hear the same words repeated again and again. Discipline. Motivation. Hard work. Willpower. These ideas have become the foundation of modern success advice. We are told that successful people wake up early because they are more disciplined. They exercise consistently because they have stronger willpower. They build businesses because they possess extraordinary motivation. They achieve remarkable goals because they simply work harder than everyone else. At first glance, this explanation seems reasonable. After all, discipline and hard work are valuable qualities. Successful people often demonstrate both. But there is a deeper truth hiding beneath the surface. A truth that explains why some people remain productive for decades while others struggle to stay consistent for even a few weeks. A truth that explains why some people continue making progress when motivation disappears. A truth that reveals the real engine behind long-term success. That truth is momentum. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in human behavior. Yet it is rarely discussed. Most people focus on the visible results of success. They admire achievements, awards, promotions, businesses, books, financial freedom, physical fitness. They see the outcome. They do not see the momentum that created it. Imagine watching a train moving at full speed. The train appears powerful, unstoppable, effortless. But what you are seeing is not merely motion. You are seeing momentum. Hours earlier, that same train was stationary. Getting it moving required significant energy. The beginning was difficult. The wheels resisted. The weight seemed enormous. Yet once the train gained momentum, movement became easier. The same principle applies to life. Starting is difficult. Continuing becomes easier. Most people spend their lives trying to force themselves into action. Highly productive people spend their lives protecting momentum. This distinction changes everything. Why some people appear naturally productive. Have you ever met someone who seems effortlessly productive? They exercise regularly, read books consistently, manage responsibilities effectively, complete important projects, continue learning, maintain healthy habits, and somehow they make it all look easy. Many people assume these individuals possess extraordinary discipline. But often that assumption is incorrect. What appears to be discipline is frequently momentum. The behavior has become part of their routine. The system is already functioning. The habit already exists. The decision has already been made. Action requires less mental effort, less negotiation, less internal conflict. The individual is not forcing themselves to act every day. They are continuing an existing pattern. Momentum is carrying them forward. This is one of the most important lessons in productivity. Success becomes easier when momentum exists. The challenge is learning how to create it. The productivity myth. Many people secretly believe that successful individuals feel motivated all the time. They imagine that high achievers wake up excited every morning, eager to work, ready to perform, prepared to conquer every challenge. Reality tells a different story. Successful people experience laziness, doubt, distraction, stress, fatigue. Just like everyone else. The difference is not emotional. The difference is structural. Their habits continue functioning even when motivation disappears. Their systems continue operating when energy fluctuates. Their routines survive difficult days. They rely less on feelings and more on momentum. This is why productivity should never depend solely on motivation. Motivation is unpredictable. Momentum is reliable. Motivation comes and goes. Momentum can carry you through periods where motivation is absent. Understanding this principle can completely transform how you approach work, goals, and personal growth. The hidden cost of starting over. One reason many people struggle with productivity is that they repeatedly start over. They begin exercising. Stop. Begin again. Stop again. Start learning a skill. Quit. Restart months later. Abandon it again. This pattern is exhausting. Not because the tasks are difficult. Because restarting is difficult. Every restart requires energy. Every restart requires effort. Every restart demands renewed commitment. The individual never remains consistent long enough to build momentum. As a result, every attempt feels difficult. The process becomes frustrating, discouraging, emotionally draining. Many people assume they need more discipline. In reality, they need fewer restarts. Momentum rewards continuity. Even small amounts of progress matter. Because every day you continue is one less day spent starting over. The momentum machine concept: imagine your life as a machine. Every positive habit acts as a gear. Every productive routine acts as a lever. Every system acts as a component. At first, the machine moves slowly. The gears resist. The engine struggles. Progress feels difficult, but with repetition, the machine gains speed. The gears begin working together. The systems reinforce each other. The habits strengthen one another. Momentum develops. Eventually, productivity becomes less about effort and more about maintenance. The machine continues running. This is the central idea behind this book. You are not trying to force success through willpower. You are building a momentum machine. A collection of habits, systems, and routines that generate consistent forward movement. Once the machine gains speed, progress becomes easier. Not effortless, but easier. And easier actions get repeated more often. Repeated actions create results. Why this book is different: many productivity books focus on techniques, time management methods, scheduling strategies, goal-setting frameworks. These tools are useful, but tools alone rarely create transformation. A calendar cannot create consistency. A planner cannot create commitment. A to-do list cannot create momentum. The real challenge is behavioral. How do you continue showing up? How do you maintain progress when motivation disappears? How do you build habits that survive stress, distractions, and setbacks? How do you create a life where productivity becomes natural rather than forced? These questions form the foundation of this book. The chapters ahead are designed to help you build sustainable momentum. Not temporary excitement. Not short-lived motivation. Real momentum. The kind that continues working for months, years, even decades. The 3 stages of productivity. Most people experience productivity in 3 stages. Stage 1. Forced action. This is where most people begin. Every action feels difficult. Every task requires motivation. Every habit feels unnatural. Progress occurs, but it requires significant effort. The individual relies heavily on discipline. This stage is exhausting, and many people remain trapped here indefinitely. Stage 2. Habit formation. Eventually, repeated actions become familiar. Resistance decreases. Behavior becomes easier. The individual begins developing routines. Consistency improves. Momentum starts building. This stage feels better. Progress becomes more predictable. Stage 3. Momentum. At this stage, productive behavior becomes part of life. The systems function automatically. The habits reinforce one another. The individual spends less energy forcing action. Momentum drives behavior. This is where productivity becomes sustainable. This is where remarkable results often emerge. The goal of this book is to help you reach this stage. The compound nature of progress. One of the most misunderstood aspects of success is the way progress accumulates. Most people expect linear growth. They imagine effort and results increasing at the same rate. Reality is different. Progress often compounds. At first, results appear small, almost invisible. The effort feels greater than the reward. Many people quit during this phase. They assume nothing is happening. Then something interesting occurs. The accumulated effort begins producing visible outcomes. Skills improve. Confidence grows. Opportunities increase. Results accelerate. The process appears magical, yet nothing magical occurred. Momentum simply reached a level where its effects became visible. This book will teach you how to survive the early stages long enough to experience that acceleration. Your life is a collection of habits. Take a moment to consider your average day. The way you wake up. The way you work. The way you eat. The way you think. The way you spend free time. The way you manage responsibilities. Much of your day is habitual, automatic, predictable. These habits create your lifestyle. Your lifestyle creates your outcomes. This means your future is not primarily determined by occasional decisions. It is determined by repeated behaviors. If you improve those behaviors, you improve the trajectory of your life. This is encouraging. Because habits can be changed. Systems can be improved. Momentum can be built, no matter where you begin. The promise of this book. By the time you finish this book, you will understand why momentum is more powerful than motivation. How habits create automatic productivity. Why systems outperform willpower. How to eliminate friction and resistance. How to recover quickly from setbacks. How to maintain consistency for years. How to build a lifestyle that naturally produces results. Most importantly, you will understand how to create your own momentum machine. A system that continues moving forward even when life becomes difficult. A system that makes productivity sustainable. A system that transforms small actions into extraordinary results. A final thought before we begin. The people who achieve remarkable things are rarely those who feel motivated every day. They are rarely those with perfect discipline. They are rarely those with endless energy. More often, they are the people who learned how to build momentum. They learned how to start, how to continue, how to recover, how to remain consistent. They built systems that carried them forward. And over time, those systems created lives that appeared extraordinary. The same opportunity exists for you. Not through luck. Not through talent. Not through endless motivation. Through momentum. Because once momentum begins working for you, progress stops feeling like a constant battle. It becomes a natural consequence of the systems you build and the habits you repeat. And that is where our journey begins. Chapter 1. Understanding Momentum. The invisible engine of success. There is a moment in every success story that most people never see. A moment before the recognition. Before the achievement. Before the promotion. Before the finished book. Before the thriving business. Before the transformation. It is the moment when nothing appears to be happening. The person is working, practicing, learning, improving, showing up. Yet there are few visible results. No applause. No rewards. No dramatic evidence of progress. To an outside observer, the effort might even appear pointless. But beneath the surface, something important is taking place. Momentum is being built. And momentum is often the invisible force behind every meaningful achievement. Most people focus on results. They admire outcomes. But outcomes are simply the visible expression of countless actions performed consistently over time. Momentum is what connects those actions together. Without momentum, progress is difficult. With momentum, progress becomes increasingly natural. This chapter explores how momentum works, why it matters, and how it quietly shapes every area of life. The nature of momentum. Momentum is not motivation. The two are often confused. Motivation is emotional. Momentum is behavioral. Motivation is a feeling. Momentum is movement. Motivation can disappear overnight. Momentum can continue despite changing emotions. This distinction is critical. Most people spend their lives chasing motivation. They wait until they feel inspired, excited, energetic, ready. Then they take action. The problem is obvious. Motivation is unreliable. Some days it appears, some days it does not. Momentum works differently. Once movement begins, continuing often requires less effort than starting. The behavior itself creates energy. Action generates further action. Progress encourages more progress. Momentum becomes self-reinforcing. This is why productive people often continue making progress even when they do not feel particularly motivated. They are benefiting from momentum. Motion creates motion. One of the most powerful laws of productivity is surprisingly simple: motion creates motion. The act of doing something makes future action easier. Consider exercise. The hardest workout is often not the workout itself. It is deciding to begin. Driving to the gym, putting on the shoes, starting the routine. Once movement begins, continuation becomes easier. The same principle applies to writing, reading, learning, business, relationships. Nearly every worthwhile pursuit, starting requires energy, continuing requires less. This explains why small actions matter so much. Small actions create movement. Movement creates momentum. Momentum creates consistency. Consistency creates results. Why starting feels so hard? If momentum is so powerful, why do people struggle to build it? Because the beginning is uncomfortable. The brain naturally prefers familiar behavior. Existing habits feel safe, predictable, efficient. New behaviors require effort, attention, energy. The brain interprets change as work. This creates resistance. The resistance is strongest at the beginning, before momentum exists. This is why people often abandon goals shortly after starting. The process feels difficult. Progress appears minimal. Rewards seem distant. The individual concludes the effort is not worth it. What they fail to realize is that the discomfort is temporary. Momentum has not yet had time to develop. The process is still in its most demanding stage. The flywheel principle: imagine a giant flywheel. Heavy, massive, difficult to move. You push. Nothing happens. You push again. Still very little movement. You continue pushing. Slowly, the wheel begins turning. The progress seems insignificant, yet each push contributes. Eventually, the wheel gains speed. Momentum develops. Now the wheel continues turning with far less effort. The same principle applies to personal growth. The first workout feels difficult. The 10th feels easier. The first page feels difficult. The 100th feels easier. The first sales call feels uncomfortable. The 100th feels routine. Momentum changes the experience. The behavior becomes familiar. Resistance decreases. Action becomes easier. The productivity illusion. Many people observe highly productive individuals and assume they possess extraordinary self-control. The reality is often different. What appears to be discipline is frequently momentum. Consider someone who exercises every morning. An observer may think, they must have incredible discipline. Perhaps. But another explanation is more likely. The behavior has become habitual. The routine exists. The system functions automatically. The individual is not making a fresh decision every morning. The decision was made long ago. Momentum now supports the behavior. This distinction is important because it changes how success is viewed. Instead of admiring discipline, we begin studying systems. Instead of chasing motivation, we begin creating momentum. Momentum in learning. Learning provides an excellent example of momentum. The early stages of learning a skill are often frustrating. Progress feels slow. Mistakes occur frequently. Confidence remains low. Many people quit during this phase. Yet those who continue eventually experience a shift. Knowledge accumulates. Patterns become recognizable. Performance improves. The learning process accelerates. What changed? Momentum. The accumulated practice created advantages. Future learning became easier because previous effort had established a foundation. This principle applies to every skill. writing, programming, public speaking, languages, business, fitness. The more consistent the effort, the stronger the momentum. Momentum and confidence. Confidence is often misunderstood. Many people believe confidence comes before action. They assume successful people act because they are confident. More often, confidence emerges from action. Repeated action creates evidence. Evidence creates belief. Belief creates confidence. Momentum plays a crucial role in this process. Each successful repetition reinforces self-trust. The individual begins viewing themselves differently. They see someone who follows through, someone who keeps promises, someone who makes progress. This identity strengthens confidence. Confidence encourages further action. The cycle reinforces itself. The cost of inconsistency. Momentum can work in both directions. Positive momentum creates progress. Negative momentum creates stagnation. When people repeatedly interrupt their efforts, momentum never fully develops. The individual starts, stops, restarts, stops again. Each interruption resets progress. The beginning becomes difficult every time. The person spends their energy repeatedly overcoming the same resistance. This cycle is exhausting. And it explains why inconsistency feels so frustrating. The effort required to restart often exceeds the effort required to continue. This is why consistency matters so much. Not because perfection is required. Because continuity protects momentum. The momentum gap. There is often a gap between effort and visible results. This gap confuses many people. They work hard, remain consistent, yet see little evidence of progress. The temptation to quit becomes strong. This phase is normal. Momentum often develops before results become visible. The habits strengthen first. The systems improve first. The skills improve first. The visible rewards arrive later. People who understand momentum remain patient. They recognize that progress is occurring beneath the surface. They continue pushing the flywheel. And eventually, acceleration occurs. Why small wins matter. Small wins are often dismissed because they seem insignificant. Yet small wins are one of the fastest ways to build momentum. A completed workout. A chapter read. A productive hour. A task finished. A commitment honored. Each victory creates evidence of progress. The accomplishment may be small. The psychological impact is substantial. The brain begins associating action with success. Motivation increases. Confidence improves. Momentum strengthens. Small wins are not about results. They are about maintaining movement. And movement creates momentum. The momentum mindset. People who understand momentum think differently. They focus less on dramatic outcomes, more on repeated actions. Less on perfection, more on consistency. Less on motivation, more on systems. They understand that success is rarely created by one extraordinary effort. It is created by thousands of ordinary efforts connected by momentum. This perspective reduces pressure. The individual no longer needs to be perfect. They simply need to keep moving. Progress becomes sustainable. The journey becomes manageable. Momentum and habit formation. Habits and momentum are closely connected. Habits create momentum. Momentum strengthens habits. The relationship is mutually reinforcing. When a habit becomes established, action requires less effort. The behavior occurs automatically. Consistency improves. Momentum grows. As momentum grows, the habit becomes easier to maintain. This cycle explains why habits are so powerful. They reduce the energy required for positive behavior. The system begins carrying the individual forward. Protecting momentum. Once momentum exists, it becomes valuable. Extremely valuable. Because momentum reduces friction, increases consistency, strengthens confidence. Protecting momentum should become a priority. This means returning quickly after setbacks, maintaining routines, avoiding unnecessary interruptions, continuing even when progress feels slow. Momentum does not require perfection. It requires persistence. Even small actions can preserve momentum. And preserved momentum creates long-term advantages. The hidden force behind success. When people observe extraordinary achievement, they often focus on visible factors. Talent, intelligence, resources, opportunity. These factors matter, but they rarely tell the entire story. Beneath nearly every meaningful achievement lies momentum. Years of repeated action. Years of consistent effort. Years of accumulated improvement. The momentum was invisible. The results became visible. This distinction matters, because momentum is available to everyone, regardless of talent, regardless of background, regardless of current circumstances. Anyone can begin creating momentum. One action at a time. One habit at a time. One day at a time. The first step. Everything begins with movement, not perfection, not mastery. Movement. A single action, a single decision, a single repetition. Momentum does not require dramatic beginnings. It requires beginnings. The first workout, the first page, the first hour, the first attempt, the first step. Those small actions may appear insignificant, yet they contain enormous potential. Because every great achievement begins the same way, with movement. And movement, repeated consistently, becomes momentum. Momentum becomes progress. Progress becomes success. And success becomes the natural consequence of continued forward motion. In the next chapter, we will explore why motivation fails so often and why systems, not willpower, are the true foundation of lifelong productivity. Chapter 2. Why motivation fails and systems win. Motivation feels powerful. When motivation is high, everything seems possible. Goals appear exciting. Work feels meaningful. Energy feels abundant. The future looks bright. People make ambitious plans, create detailed schedules, set bold targets, promise themselves that this time will be different. And for a short period, it often is. Productivity increases. Action becomes easier. Progress begins. Then something changes. Motivation fades. The excitement disappears. The energy declines. The ambitious plan starts feeling difficult. The schedule becomes harder to follow. The goals feel distant. The individual slows down, then stops. This pattern is incredibly common. It happens in fitness, business, learning, relationships, financial growth, personal development. People begin with enthusiasm, then gradually lose momentum. The problem is not a lack of intelligence, not a lack of ambition, not even a lack of effort. The problem is relying on motivation as the primary source of action. Motivation is valuable, but motivation is unreliable. And anything unreliable cannot serve as the foundation of lifelong productivity. This chapter explores why motivation fails and why systems consistently outperform willpower. The motivation trap. The motivation trap is simple. People believe they need to feel motivated before taking action. As a result, they wait. They wait for the perfect mood, the perfect energy level, the perfect circumstances, the perfect moment. Unfortunately, that moment rarely arrives. Life remains busy. Challenges continue. Responsibilities increase. Stress appears. Energy fluctuates. The individual continues waiting. Progress stalls. The motivation trap creates dependency. The person becomes dependent on feelings. If motivation exists, action occurs. If motivation disappears, progress stops. This approach creates inconsistency, and inconsistency destroys momentum. The emotional roller coaster. Motivation is emotional, and emotions change constantly. Some mornings you feel energized. Other mornings you feel exhausted. Some days you feel confident. Other days you feel uncertain. Some days you feel inspired. Other days you feel indifferent. This fluctuation is normal. Human beings are emotional creatures. The problem arises when productivity depends on emotional states. If behavior changes every time emotions change, consistency becomes impossible. The individual becomes trapped on an emotional roller coaster. Productive one week, unproductive the next, focused one day, distracted the next. The cycle repeats endlessly. Systems solve this problem by reducing emotional dependence. Why willpower is limited. Many people attempt to solve productivity challenges through willpower. They try to force themselves into action. Push harder. Resist temptation. Overcome resistance. This strategy can work temporarily. The problem is that willpower is finite. Every decision consumes mental energy. Every temptation resisted consumes energy. Every difficult choice consumes energy. As the day progresses, mental resources decline. Decision fatigue appears. Focus weakens. Self-control decreases. The individual becomes vulnerable to distractions and procrastination. Willpower is like a battery. Useful, powerful, but limited. Systems function differently. They reduce the need for willpower. And anything that reduces dependence on willpower becomes more sustainable. The daily decision problem. Imagine beginning every day with hundreds of decisions. Should I exercise? Should I read? Should I work on my project? Should I save money? Should I study? Should I continue? Each decision requires effort. The more decisions required, the greater the mental burden. This is one reason many people struggle with consistency. They repeatedly negotiate with themselves. Every habit becomes a debate. Every action becomes a choice. Systems eliminate much of this negotiation. The decision has already been made. The routine determines the action. The schedule determines the timing. The process determines the next step. Less decision-making means less resistance. Less resistance means more consistency. The hidden power of systems. A system is a repeatable process that produces consistent outcomes. It is not dependent on mood. Not dependent on motivation. Not dependent on temporary enthusiasm. A system creates structure. Structure creates predictability. Predictability creates consistency. Consider brushing your teeth. Most people do not rely on motivation to perform this habit. The behavior is automatic. Part of a system. No emotional debate occurs. No motivational speech is required. The action simply happens. The most productive individuals build similar systems around important behaviors. Exercise becomes a system. Learning becomes a system. Planning becomes a system. Productive work becomes a system. The behavior continues because the system exists. Systems reduce friction. One of the greatest strengths of systems is their ability to reduce friction. Friction is anything that makes action more difficult. Confusion, complexity, preparation, decision-making, disorganization. Systems eliminate many of these obstacles. The workspace is ready. The schedule is clear. The routine is established. The next step is obvious. Action becomes easier, and easier actions occur more frequently. This simple principle explains much of human behavior. People naturally move toward actions that require less effort. Good systems make productive behavior easier. Bad systems make productive behavior harder. Motivation starts. Systems continue. Motivation is not useless. In fact, motivation often plays an important role at the beginning. It creates excitement, encourages change, provides initial energy. The problem occurs when people expect motivation to sustain the journey. Motivation can start the engine. Systems keep it running. Think of motivation as the spark. Systems are the fuel. Without the spark, beginning may be difficult. Without the fuel, continuation becomes impossible. Successful people understand this distinction. They appreciate motivation. But they build systems. Because systems survive after motivation disappears. The productivity architecture model. Imagine constructing a building. The visible structure attracts attention. The design, the appearance, the finished product. Yet the true strength of the building lies beneath the surface. The foundation supports everything. Productivity works similarly. Goals are visible. Results are visible. Achievements are visible. The foundation is the system. Without a strong foundation, results remain unstable. With a strong foundation, progress becomes reliable. The objective is not creating better goals. The objective is creating better foundations, better systems, better habits, better routines, better structures. Creating default behaviors. One of the smartest ways to increase productivity is creating default behaviors. A default behavior is an action that occurs automatically unless intentionally interrupted. For example, reading before bed, planning the day each morning, exercising after work, reviewing goals each evening. These behaviors become standard, expected, automatic. The individual no longer decides whether to perform them. They simply occur. This dramatically reduces resistance, because the easiest decision is the one already made. Why successful people seem consistent. Many people assume successful individuals possess extraordinary self-control. Often, they possess extraordinary systems. The observer sees consistent behavior. What they do not see are the structures supporting it. Prepared environments, established routines, clear schedules, automated processes, reduced distractions. The system performs much of the work. Consistency becomes easier. The person appears disciplined. The reality is often more practical. They designed a system that supports success. Automation. The ultimate productivity tool. Automation is one of the most powerful forms of system design. When a behavior becomes automatic, consistency improves dramatically. Automatic savings, automatic bill payments, automatic reminders, recurring calendar events, scheduled work sessions. Automation reduces opportunities for procrastination. The action occurs whether motivation exists or not. The system functions independently. This creates reliability. And reliability creates momentum. Systems during difficult days. Everyone experiences difficult days. Stress, fatigue, disappointment, unexpected challenges. Motivation often disappears during these periods. Goals provide little support. Willpower weakens. Systems become invaluable. The routine remains. The process remains. The structure remains. The individual may not perform perfectly, but progress continues. Even small actions preserve momentum. This resilience is one of the greatest benefits of systems. They continue functioning when emotions fluctuate. The difference between amateurs and professionals. Amateurs often wait for inspiration. Professionals rely on systems. Amateurs work when they feel like it. Professionals work according to process. Amateurs depend on motivation. Professionals depend on routines. This difference explains much of the performance gap. Professionals understand that feelings are unreliable. Systems create stability. Stability creates consistency. Consistency creates results. The professional focuses less on emotional readiness and more on execution. Building your first productivity system. Creating a productivity system does not require complexity. In fact, simplicity is often better. Start with a small repeatable routine. Something sustainable. Something realistic. For example, wake up. Review priorities. Complete one important task. Exercise. Read. Reflect. The specific activities matter less than the consistency. The objective is creating structure. Once the structure exists, improvement becomes easier. The system can evolve over time. But it must begin. The system advantage. Imagine two people pursuing the same goal. One relies on motivation. The other relies on systems. The motivated individual performs well when energy is high, poorly when energy is low. The system-driven individual performs consistently regardless of mood. Over time, the difference becomes enormous. The system creates momentum. Momentum creates progress. Progress creates results. The gap widens. The advantages compound. Success becomes increasingly likely. The foundation of lifelong productivity. Lifelong productivity cannot depend on temporary emotions. Emotions change. Circumstances change. Life changes. The foundation must be stronger. Systems provide that foundation. They reduce friction. Eliminate unnecessary decisions. Support consistency. Protect momentum. Create reliability. And reliability is one of the most valuable assets in personal growth. Because extraordinary results are rarely produced by extraordinary effort. They are produced by ordinary effort repeated consistently. And consistency is what systems do best. In the next chapter, we will explore the blueprint behind habit formation and discover how habits become the gears that power your momentum machine. Chapter 3. The Habit Blueprint. Every productive person has a secret. It is not a secret because they are hiding it. It is a secret because most people overlook it. Their success is not built on constant effort. It is built on habits. Habits quietly shape nearly every aspect of life. They influence how you wake up, how you think, how you work, how you eat, how you spend money, how you manage relationships, how you respond to challenges. And ultimately, they influence the results you achieve. Most people assume major life changes come from major decisions. In reality, life is often shaped by small behaviors repeated so frequently that they become automatic. These behaviors are habits. A habit is simply an action performed so consistently that it requires little conscious effort. The behavior becomes part of your routine, part of your identity, part of your daily life. And because habits occur repeatedly, their impact accumulates. One habit may seem insignificant. A collection of habits can transform an entire future. Understanding how habits work is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. Because once you understand habits, you stop relying on motivation. You stop depending on willpower. You begin designing behaviors that operate automatically. And that is where true productivity begins. The hidden power of habit. Researchers estimate that a significant portion of daily behavior is habitual. Many actions occur without deliberate thought. You wake up and follow familiar routines. You check your phone, brush your teeth, prepare breakfast, travel to work, respond to messages, follow patterns. Most of these actions happen automatically. This is important because habits reduce mental effort. The brain loves efficiency. It constantly searches for ways to conserve energy. When a behavior is repeated enough times, the brain creates shortcuts. The action becomes automatic. Less thought is required. Less effort is required. This creates efficiency. And efficiency creates consistency. Imagine if you had to consciously think about every action you performed. Every step, every decision, every routine. Life would become exhausting. Habits solve this problem. They automate behavior. And automated behavior is powerful. The habit loop. At the core of every habit is a simple pattern often called the habit loop. The loop contains 3 parts. Cue. The cue is the trigger. It signals the brain that a behavior should begin. Examples include waking up, seeing your running shoes, hearing an alarm, feeling stressed, finishing a meal. The cue initiates the process. Routine. The routine is the behavior itself. The action performed in response to the cue. Examples include going for a run, drinking coffee, checking social media, reading a book, practicing a skill. Reward. The reward is the benefit received after performing the behavior. Rewards reinforce habits. They teach the brain that the action is worth repeating. Examples include a sense of accomplishment, relaxation, entertainment, satisfaction, progress. Over time, the brain learns to associate the cue with the reward. The habit becomes automatic. Why habits matter more than goals. Goals are important. They provide direction. They create clarity. They establish targets. But goals alone do not create results. Habits create results. Imagine two people with identical goals. Both want to become healthier. One person develops healthy habits, exercises regularly, eats nutritious meals, sleeps consistently. The other person simply hopes for change. Who achieves the better outcome? The answer is obvious. The difference is not the goal. The difference is the habit. Goals determine direction. Habits determine progress. The goal tells you where to go. The habit determines whether you arrive. The productivity habit advantage. Productive people often appear disciplined. What they actually possess is a collection of productive habits. They do not decide whether to work every day. Working is habitual. They do not debate whether to plan. Planning is habitual. They do not negotiate whether to learn. Learning is habitual. The behavior occurs automatically. This creates a significant advantage. Because habits reduce resistance, the action becomes easier, and easier actions happen more often. This is why habits are such powerful productivity tools. They remove friction, reduce decision-making, preserve energy, and support consistency. The 4 stages of habit formation. Every habit develops through a predictable process. Stage 1. Awareness. The individual becomes aware of a behavior they want to develop. For example, I want to read more. I want to exercise. I want to wake up earlier. Awareness creates intention. Stage 2. Repetition. The behavior is repeated consistently. The action still requires effort, still requires attention. The habit is fragile. Stage 3. Familiarity. The behavior begins feeling natural. Resistance decreases. The routine becomes easier. Consistency improves. Stage 4. Automation. The behavior becomes automatic. Little conscious effort is required. The habit operates independently. This is where the greatest benefits emerge. The challenge is surviving the early stages long enough to reach automation. Why most habits fail. Many habits fail for predictable reasons. People often make habits too difficult, too large, too complicated, too ambitious. They attempt dramatic transformation overnight. Wake up at 5 a.m. Exercise 2 hours daily. Read multiple books each week. Eliminate every bad habit simultaneously. The plan feels exciting for a few days. Then reality appears. The effort becomes overwhelming. Consistency disappears. The habit collapses. The lesson is simple. Successful habits are sustainable. Not impressive. Not dramatic. Sustainable. Start smaller than you think. One of the biggest mistakes people make is underestimating the power of small beginnings. The brain resists large changes, but it accepts small ones. Instead of reading 50 pages, read 1 page. Instead of exercising for an hour, exercise for 5 minutes. Instead of writing 1,000 words, write 1 paragraph. The objective is not immediate achievement. The objective is habit formation. Small habits survive. Large habits often fail. Once the behavior becomes automatic, expansion becomes easy. Habit stacking. One of the simplest ways to build habits is through habit stacking. Habit stacking involves attaching a new behavior to an existing habit. The existing habit becomes the cue. For example, after brushing my teeth, I will read 1 page. After making coffee, I will review my goals. After lunch, I will take a short walk. After finishing work, I will exercise. This strategy works because existing habits already possess strong neural pathways. The new behavior benefits from the established routine. The habit becomes easier to remember, easier to perform, and easier to maintain. Environmental design. The environment plays a major role in habit formation. People often underestimate this influence. Visible behaviors become more likely. Accessible behaviors become more likely. Convenient behaviors become more likely. Want to read more? Place books where you can see them. Want to exercise? Keep equipment easily accessible. Want to eat healthier? Prepare healthy options in advance. Want to reduce distractions? Remove them from your environment. The environment constantly influences decisions. Designing it intentionally improves behavior automatically. The identity connection. The strongest habits are connected to identity. Instead of focusing on outcomes, focus on becoming the type of person who naturally performs the behavior. Rather than saying, "I want to run," say, "I am becoming a runner." Rather than saying, "I want to write," say, "I am becoming a writer." Rather than saying, "I want to be productive," say, "I am becoming a productive person." Identity creates consistency. Because people naturally behave in ways that align with how they view themselves. Every repeated habit reinforces identity. And every reinforced identity strengthens future habits. Replacing bad habits. Eliminating bad habits is difficult. Replacing them is easier. The brain dislikes behavioral vacuums. Removing a habit without replacing it often creates failure. Instead, substitute a better behavior. Replace mindless scrolling with reading. Replace unhealthy snacks with healthier options. Replace procrastination with a 2-minute productive task. Replace negative self-talk with constructive reflection. The goal is not simply removing behavior. The goal is redirecting behavior. Why tracking works. Tracking increases awareness. Awareness improves consistency. When people monitor habits, they gain feedback. Feedback reveals progress. Progress reinforces motivation. Motivation strengthens consistency. Even a simple checklist can be effective. The visual evidence creates momentum. Each completed day becomes proof. Proof strengthens confidence. Confidence encourages continuation. Tracking does not create habits. It supports them. The compound effect of habits. Habits may appear small, but their effects compound. A daily workout strengthens the body. A daily reading habit strengthens knowledge. A daily savings habit strengthens finances. A daily writing habit strengthens communication skills. Each repetition appears insignificant, yet the accumulation becomes extraordinary. This is why habits matter. Not because of what they do today, because of what they create over time. Building your momentum machine. Think of habits as the gears inside your momentum machine. Each habit performs a specific function. One habit improves health. Another improves focus. Another improves learning. Another improves productivity. Individually, they seem small. Together, they create momentum. The machine becomes stronger, more efficient, more reliable. The habits support one another. Progress accelerates. Results improve. This is how lifelong productivity is built. Not through heroic effort. Not through endless motivation. Through habits. Simple actions repeated consistently until they become automatic. And once behavior becomes automatic, success stops depending on how you feel. It begins depending on how your system operates. That is the true power of habits. And it is the foundation of every momentum machine. Chapter 4. Atomic Actions. Small behaviors that change everything. Most people underestimate the power of small actions. They believe significant results require significant effort. Massive goals. Massive changes. Massive sacrifices. When they decide to improve their lives, they often attempt dramatic transformation. They create ambitious plans. Set aggressive targets. Promise themselves they will work harder than ever before. For a few days, the excitement feels real. The motivation is high. The effort is intense. Then reality appears. The schedule becomes difficult to maintain. Energy declines. Life becomes busy. The plan collapses. The individual becomes discouraged. Eventually, they return to old habits. The problem is not lack of desire. The problem is misunderstanding how lasting change occurs. Most transformation is not created by massive actions. It is created by atomic actions. Tiny behaviors. Small improvements. Simple routines. Repeated consistently over time. Atomic actions appear insignificant in the moment. Yet their long-term impact can be extraordinary. They are the building blocks of momentum, the foundation of productivity, the secret behind sustainable success. And once you understand their power, you begin approaching growth differently. You stop chasing dramatic breakthroughs. You start accumulating small wins. And those small wins change everything. The myth of big change. Society often celebrates dramatic transformation. The entrepreneur who built a company from nothing. The athlete who won a championship. The author who published a bestseller. The investor who became wealthy. The transformation appears sudden. The success appears dramatic. The reality is usually very different. Behind every major achievement are thousands of small actions. Countless repetitions. Tiny improvements. Ordinary habits. The breakthrough receives attention. The daily actions created it. This misunderstanding causes many people to overlook the importance of small behavior. They focus on outcomes instead of process. Results instead of repetition. The visible achievement instead of the invisible habits that produced it. What is an atomic action? An atomic action is the smallest meaningful step toward a desired outcome. It is simple, specific, manageable, easy to repeat. Examples include reading 1 page, writing 1 paragraph, doing 5 push-ups, saving a small amount of money, reviewing goals for 2 minutes, practicing a skill for 5 minutes. Each action appears insignificant, yet each action contributes to progress, and progress accumulates. The objective is not immediate transformation. The objective is repeated movement. Because repeated movement creates momentum. Why small actions work? Small actions succeed because they bypass resistance. Large goals often trigger fear, doubt, overwhelm, procrastination. The brain perceives the task as difficult, energy-intensive, uncomfortable. Small actions feel different. They seem manageable, achievable, safe. The brain offers less resistance. Action becomes easier. And easier actions are more likely to be repeated. This is one of the most important principles in productivity. The easier a behavior becomes, the more frequently it occurs. Frequency matters. Because repetition creates habits. Habits create momentum. Momentum creates results. The mathematics of improvement: imagine improving by just 1% each day. The improvement appears insignificant, almost invisible. Most people would ignore it. Yet improvement compounds. 1% better today, 1% better tomorrow, 1% better next week. The accumulated effect becomes substantial. The reverse is also true. Small declines compound as well. Tiny mistakes repeated consistently produce negative outcomes. This principle explains why small actions deserve attention. The action itself may be small. Its long-term impact may be enormous. Tiny wins build confidence. Confidence does not appear magically. It grows through evidence. Every completed action becomes evidence. Evidence strengthens belief. Belief strengthens confidence. This process begins with tiny wins. A completed workout. A completed chapter. A completed task. A completed promise. The accomplishment may be small. The message is powerful. It tells the brain, I follow through. Repeated often enough, this message becomes part of identity. Confidence grows naturally. Not through positive thinking alone. Through repeated proof. The 2-minute rule. One of the simplest productivity strategies is the 2-minute rule. The concept is straightforward. Reduce a habit to a version that takes 2 minutes or less. Want to read? Read 1 page. Want to write? Write 1 sentence. Want to exercise? Do 1 push-up. Want to meditate? Sit quietly for 2 minutes. The goal is not performance. The goal is initiation. Starting creates momentum. Momentum encourages continuation. Many productive sessions begin with tiny actions. The action itself is small. The effect is large. Consistency beats intensity. People often admire intense effort. Working all night. Exercising for hours. Making dramatic sacrifices. These actions appear impressive. The problem is sustainability. Intensity is difficult to maintain. Consistency is sustainable. The person who reads 10 pages daily often learns more than the person who reads 100 pages once a month. The person who exercises 20 minutes daily often achieves more than the person who exercises intensely for a week and quits. Consistency creates accumulation. Accumulation creates results. This is why atomic actions matter. They are easy to repeat. And repeated actions create extraordinary outcomes. The accumulation effect. Imagine placing a single drop of water into a bucket. The effect appears meaningless. One drop changes nothing. Add another drop. Still nothing noticeable. Continue adding drops. Eventually the bucket fills. The same principle applies to productivity. Each action contributes. Each repetition matters. The individual improvement may appear invisible. The accumulation becomes undeniable. Success often arrives gradually, then suddenly. The gradual phase created the sudden phase. Atomic actions make this possible. Escaping the all-or-nothing mindset. Many people operate with an all-or-nothing mindset. If they cannot perform perfectly, they perform nothing. If they cannot exercise for an hour, they skip the workout. If they cannot read an entire chapter, they avoid reading. If they cannot complete a large project, they procrastinate. This mindset destroys consistency. Atomic actions provide an alternative. 5 minutes counts. 1 page counts. 1 paragraph counts. 1 small step counts. The objective is maintaining momentum, not achieving perfection. Momentum thrives on continuity. Why small actions feel unimportant? One reason people abandon atomic actions is that the rewards seem insignificant. The brain craves visible progress. Immediate results. Quick feedback. Atomic actions rarely provide dramatic rewards. Their impact accumulates slowly. This creates a challenge. The individual must trust the process. Trust the accumulation. Trust the compounding effect. The people who succeed understand this principle. They remain committed long enough to experience the rewards. The relationship between action and identity. Every action casts a vote for the type of person you are becoming. Reading reinforces the identity of a learner. Writing reinforces the identity of a writer. Exercise reinforces the identity of an athlete. Saving reinforces the identity of a responsible person. The action may be small. The identity shift is significant. Repeated actions strengthen self-image. And self-image influences future behavior. This creates a powerful cycle. Action strengthens identity. Identity strengthens action. The process compounds over time. Small behaviors create big systems. Large systems are often built from tiny components. A productive morning routine may begin with one habit. A fitness transformation may begin with a short walk. A successful business may begin with one customer. A book may begin with one paragraph. The scale of the outcome often hides the simplicity of the beginning. This is encouraging, because it means progress is accessible. You do not need dramatic action. You need consistent action. Momentum loves small beginnings. Momentum does not care how impressive the first step appears. It only cares that movement begins. A tiny action creates motion. Motion creates momentum. Momentum creates consistency. Consistency creates results. This sequence appears repeatedly throughout life. The beginning is often small. The outcome becomes large. Those who understand this principle stop waiting for perfect conditions. They stop waiting for motivation. They stop waiting for confidence. They act. Small, simple, consistent, and momentum begins. Building an atomic productivity routine. Imagine creating a daily routine built entirely from atomic actions. Read 1 page. Write 1 paragraph. Plan for 2 minutes. Exercise for 5 minutes. Review goals briefly. None of these actions seem extraordinary. Yet together they create movement. The routine becomes sustainable. Consistency improves. Momentum develops. The individual begins moving forward every day. This is the essence of atomic productivity. Not heroic effort. Reliable effort. The long-term advantage: most people focus on immediate results. Atomic thinkers focus on long-term outcomes. They understand that today's actions contribute to future success. The rewards may not appear immediately. That is acceptable. The process remains valuable. Every action strengthens the system. Every repetition strengthens the habit. Every habit strengthens momentum. Every day contributes to future results. This perspective creates patience, and patience creates persistence. The extraordinary hidden inside the ordinary. The most powerful lesson of atomic actions is simple. Extraordinary results are often hidden inside ordinary behavior. The workout. The page. The paragraph. The practice session. The savings deposit. The productive hour. These actions appear ordinary. Repeated consistently, they become extraordinary. This is how momentum grows. Not through dramatic breakthroughs, but through tiny behaviors repeated relentlessly. One action at a time. One habit at a time. One day at a time. And over time, those small actions become the force that drives lifelong productivity. In the next chapter, we will explore identity-based productivity and discover why becoming the right person is often more important than achieving the right goal. Chapter 5. Identity-based productivity. Most people approach productivity from the outside in. They focus on goals, results, achievements, outcomes. They ask questions like, how can I become more productive? How can I achieve this goal? How can I get better results? These questions seem reasonable, but they often overlook a deeper issue. Behavior is not primarily controlled by goals. Behavior is controlled by identity. The way you see yourself influences the actions you take. Your beliefs shape your habits. Your habits shape your results. And your results reinforce your beliefs. This cycle operates constantly, whether you are aware of it or not. If you believe you are a disciplined person, you are more likely to act with discipline. If you believe you are capable of learning, you are more likely to study consistently. If you believe you are productive, you are more likely to complete important work. Identity acts like an invisible force guiding behavior. It influences decisions, shapes routines, determines consistency, and ultimately, creates outcomes. Many people try to change their results without changing their identity. The effort rarely lasts. Lasting productivity emerges when behavior aligns with self-image. This chapter explores how identity shapes performance and how you can intentionally build an identity that supports lifelong productivity. The hidden driver of behavior. Every action you take is influenced by the story you tell yourself. That story may be conscious or unconscious, but it exists. Some people tell themselves, I am bad at managing time. Others tell themselves, I always procrastinate. Others believe, I never finish what I start. These statements may appear harmless, but they become instructions. The brain works hard to remain consistent with existing beliefs. If you believe you are disorganized, organized behavior feels unnatural. If you believe you are lazy, productive behavior feels difficult. The identity creates resistance. The behavior conflicts with self-image. This is why many people struggle to maintain positive habits. The habit conflicts with identity. And identity usually wins. Goals change outcomes. Identity changes behavior. Goals are useful. They provide direction. They create focus. They help measure progress. But goals alone rarely create transformation. Imagine two people trying to quit smoking. One says, I am trying to quit smoking. The other says, I am not a smoker. The difference appears subtle, yet it is powerful. The first person still identifies as a smoker. The second person has adopted a new identity. future decisions become easier. Because behavior now aligns with self-image. The same principle applies to productivity. Instead of saying, "I want to be productive," you begin saying, "I am a productive person." The focus shifts from outcomes to identity. And identity influences behavior far more consistently than goals. The identity feedback loop. Identity and behavior constantly reinforce one another. This creates what can be called the identity feedback loop. The process works like this. Action creates evidence. Evidence strengthens belief. Belief strengthens identity. Identity influences future action. Future action creates additional evidence. The cycle repeats. For example, a person writes every day. The repeated behavior creates evidence. The evidence supports a belief. I am a writer. This identity encourages future writing. Future writing strengthens the identity further. The cycle compounds. This process works positively and negatively. Productive behavior strengthens productive identity. Unproductive behavior strengthens unproductive identity. The good news is that the cycle can be changed. Identity is earned through action. Many people attempt to change identity through positive thinking alone. They repeat affirmations. Visualize success. Imagine a different future. These practices can be helpful. But identity is strongest when supported by evidence. The brain trusts proof. Not wishes. Not hopes. Not fantasies. Proof. Every action becomes evidence. Each workout becomes proof of discipline. Each completed task becomes proof of productivity. Each reading session becomes proof of learning. The action may be small. The evidence matters. Over time, the evidence becomes undeniable. Identity changes naturally. The power of small identity wins. People often underestimate small actions because the results seem minor. They fail to recognize the identity impact. A single workout may not transform the body, but it reinforces the identity of someone who exercises. A single page may not create expertise, but it reinforces the identity of a learner. A single productive hour may not create success, but it reinforces the identity of someone who gets things done. Identity grows through repetition, not through dramatic achievements. Every small win contributes. Every repetition matters. Every action casts a vote for the person you are becoming. Why identity creates consistency. One reason identity is so powerful is that people naturally seek consistency between beliefs and actions. When behavior aligns with identity, resistance decreases. The action feels natural. The individual no longer needs constant motivation. Consider two people. One believes, "I should exercise." The other believes, "I am an athlete." The first person relies on effort. The second relies on identity. The athlete exercises because athletes exercise. The behavior feels expected, normal, consistent. Identity removes much of the internal debate, and fewer debates create more consistency. The danger of limiting identities. Many productivity challenges begin with limiting identities. People carry beliefs formed years earlier. Sometimes during childhood. Sometimes after failure. Sometimes through repeated negative experiences. Examples include, "I am not creative. I am bad with money. I lack discipline. I never stay consistent. I always quit." These beliefs become self-fulfilling. The individual unconsciously behaves in ways that reinforce them. The cycle continues. Breaking the cycle requires challenging these identities. Not through denial. Through evidence. New actions. New behaviors. New proof. Identity changes when evidence changes. Becoming the person first. Many people focus on achieving a goal before adopting an identity. They think, "When I become successful, I will see myself as successful. When I get fit, I will see myself as healthy. When I finish the book, I will see myself as a writer." The more effective approach is reversing the process. Become the person first. Act like the person. Think like the person. Follow the habits of the person. Then allow results to follow. The writer writes. The athlete trains. The learner studies. The productive person takes action. Identity comes first. Results arrive later. Identity-based habits. Identity-based habits focus on reinforcing who you want to become. Instead of asking, "What do I want to achieve?" ask, "Who do I want to become?" The answer changes behavior. A productive person plans. A healthy person exercises. A disciplined person follows through. A learner studies. The habit becomes a reflection of identity. This approach creates powerful motivation. Because every action strengthens self-image. And people naturally protect identities they value. Building a productivity identity. Creating a productive identity does not require perfection. It requires evidence. Consistent evidence. Start small. Complete one important task. Keep one promise. Follow one routine. Honor one commitment. These actions create proof. Proof strengthens belief. Belief strengthens identity. Over time, the identity becomes stronger. The person begins viewing themselves differently. Not as someone trying to be productive, but as someone who is productive. This shift changes everything. Confidence through identity. Many people seek confidence before taking action. They want certainty, assurance, guarantees. Confidence rarely works this way. Confidence emerges through evidence. Evidence emerges through action. Action strengthens identity. Identity strengthens confidence. The process is circular. A productive identity creates productive behavior. Productive behavior creates evidence. Evidence creates confidence. Confidence encourages further action. The cycle accelerates. Protecting your future identity. Every action influences your future self. Every decision contributes to identity. The question is simple. What identity are your current habits reinforcing? Are they reinforcing consistency, discipline, growth, learning? Or are they reinforcing procrastination, avoidance, disorganization? The answer matters. Because identity compounds over time. Today's habits become tomorrow's character. The person you become depends largely on the behaviors you repeat. The momentum identity. One of the most powerful identities you can develop is the identity of someone who keeps moving forward. Not someone who never struggles. Not someone who never fails. Someone who continues. Someone who returns after setbacks. Someone who maintains momentum. This identity is incredibly valuable. Because setbacks become temporary. Failure becomes feedback. Interruptions become manageable. The individual trusts themselves. And self-trust creates resilience. The long-term transformation. Identity transformation is gradual. At first, the change feels small. The new behavior feels unfamiliar. The new habits feel awkward. The new identity feels uncertain. Continue anyway. The evidence accumulates. The habits strengthen. The identity grows. Eventually, the behavior feels natural. The productive lifestyle becomes normal. The individual no longer relies heavily on motivation. Identity carries them forward. This is one of the most powerful forms of productivity. Because behavior rooted in identity becomes sustainable. Becoming the architect of your future. Most people spend their lives reacting to circumstances. Identity-based individuals take a different approach. They intentionally decide who they want to become. Then they build habits that support that identity. The process is simple. Not easy, but simple. Choose an identity. Take actions that reinforce it. Repeat consistently. Allow evidence to accumulate. Allow identity to evolve. Allow momentum to grow. Because every action you take today is shaping the person you become tomorrow. And when productivity becomes part of who you are, not merely something you do, lifelong consistency becomes possible. That is the true power of identity-based productivity. And it is one of the most important gears in your momentum machine. Chapter 6. Eliminating friction and creating flow. Imagine two people with the same goals. Both want to exercise regularly. Both want to read more books. Both want to improve their productivity. Both want to make progress. Yet one person succeeds while the other struggles. Why? Many people immediately assume the successful person possesses greater discipline, greater motivation, greater determination. Sometimes that is true, but often the real difference is much simpler. The successful person experiences less friction. Friction is one of the most overlooked forces in human behavior. It influences every action you take, every habit you perform, every decision you make, every productive task you complete. The presence or absence of friction often determines whether a behavior occurs. The easier an action becomes, the more likely it is to happen. The harder an action becomes, the less likely it is to happen. This principle seems obvious. Yet most people ignore it. They focus on trying harder rather than making things easier. They rely on willpower instead of design. They battle resistance instead of removing it. The result is unnecessary struggle. This chapter explores how friction affects productivity and how creating flow can transform your momentum machine into a powerful force for lifelong success. What is friction? Friction is anything that makes an action more difficult. It can be physical, mental, emotional, environmental, or logistical. Examples include a cluttered workspace, an unclear schedule, distractions, too many decisions, poor preparation, lack of organization, complicated routines. Each obstacle creates resistance. Individually, the obstacles may seem small. Together, they become powerful. The brain naturally seeks efficiency. When a behavior requires excessive effort, resistance increases. The likelihood of action decreases. This is not laziness. It is human nature. Understanding friction allows you to design systems that work with human psychology instead of against it. The path of least resistance. Water always follows the easiest path. Human behavior often works the same way. People naturally move toward convenient actions, easy actions, accessible actions, familiar actions. This explains many common habits. Checking social media is easy. Watching television is easy. Eating convenience food is easy. Browsing the internet is easy. These behaviors require little effort. The brain rewards efficiency. As a result, easy behaviors get repeated. The solution is not fighting human nature. The solution is making productive behavior the easiest option available. Why good intentions fail? Most people genuinely want to improve. They want to exercise, learn, save money, work on important projects, develop skills. The intention exists. The action does not. Why? Because intention alone is not enough. Between intention and action lies friction. If too many obstacles exist, the behavior never occurs. The individual blames themselves. They conclude they lack discipline. The real issue may be poor system design. Good intentions require supportive environments, supportive systems, supportive routines. Without them, even strong intentions often fail. Environmental design. Your environment constantly influences your behavior, whether you notice it or not. Visible objects attract attention. Accessible items encourage use. Convenient options increase consumption. The environment acts as a silent guide, directing behavior throughout the day. Consider a simple example. If healthy food is visible and easily accessible, healthy eating becomes easier. If unhealthy food dominates the environment, temptation increases. The same principle applies to productivity. Books encourage reading. Prepared workspaces encourage focus. Organized schedules encourage action. The environment influences outcomes. Design it carefully. Make good habits obvious. One of the easiest ways to reduce friction is increasing visibility. Visible behaviors occur more frequently. If you want to read, place books where you can see them. If you want to exercise, keep equipment accessible. If you want to practice a skill, Keep the necessary tools available. Out of sight often becomes out of mind. Visible cues remind the brain to act. This simple adjustment can dramatically improve consistency. Because reminders reduce reliance on memory. And systems should never depend entirely on memory. Reduce the number of decisions. Decision-making consumes mental energy. Every choice requires effort. As decisions accumulate, decision fatigue develops. The brain becomes tired. Focus decreases. Productivity suffers. This is why successful people often simplify routine decisions. They create schedules, routines, systems. The decision is made once, then repeated automatically. Fewer decisions create less resistance. Less resistance creates more action. More action creates more momentum. Preparation creates flow. Many productivity failures occur before the work even begins. The individual is unprepared. Resources are missing. The workspace is cluttered. The schedule is unclear. The next step is uncertain. Preparation eliminates these barriers. Prepare the night before. Organize materials. Plan tasks. Create structure. When preparation exists, action becomes easier. And easier actions are more likely to happen. Preparation may seem boring. Its impact is extraordinary. The 2-minute friction test. Whenever a habit feels difficult, ask a simple question: how can I make this easier? Look for friction. Identify obstacles. Remove barriers. Reduce complexity. For example, if reading feels difficult, place a book beside your bed. If exercising feels difficult, prepare workout clothes in advance. If writing feels difficult, open the document before leaving your workspace. Small adjustments create significant improvements. Because friction often hides in details. Creating friction for bad habits. Reducing friction for productive behavior is only half the equation. Increasing friction for unproductive behavior is equally important. Make distractions less convenient. Less accessible. More difficult. Delete unnecessary applications. Turn off notifications. Place devices in another room. Create delays before impulsive actions. Every additional obstacle reduces unwanted behavior. The objective is not perfection. The objective is reducing frequency. Even small increases in friction can produce substantial benefits. The digital friction problem. Modern technology creates unique challenges. Many distractions require almost no effort. A single tap provides entertainment, information, social interaction, novelty. The convenience is extraordinary, so is the distraction. Productivity often suffers because digital environments are optimized for engagement rather than focus. This means intentional design becomes necessary. Limit notifications. Organize digital spaces. Create distraction-free work periods. Protect attention. Because attention is one of your most valuable resources. Understanding flow. Flow is the opposite of friction. Flow occurs when action feels smooth, natural, effortless. Time seems to disappear. Focus becomes intense. Productivity increases. Flow does not happen by accident. Certain conditions encourage it. Clear goals. Immediate feedback. Reduced distractions. Appropriate challenge. Focused attention. When these conditions exist, performance improves dramatically. The flow state advantage. People often perform their best work during flow. Writers write more effectively. Athletes perform better. Artists create more freely. Professionals solve problems more efficiently. Flow creates momentum. Momentum strengthens productivity. This is why protecting flow matters. Every interruption breaks concentration. Every distraction disrupts progress. Maintaining flow creates significant advantages over time. Designing a flow-friendly environment. Flow thrives in supportive environments. Quiet spaces. Clear objectives. Organized workstations. Limited interruptions. The environment communicates expectations. A workspace designed for focus encourages focus. A workspace filled with distractions encourages distraction. Design matters. The physical environment influences the mental environment, and the mental environment influences performance. Energy and friction. Productivity is not only about time, it is also about energy. Low energy increases friction. High energy reduces friction. When energy is low, simple tasks feel difficult. When energy is high, difficult tasks feel manageable. Protecting energy becomes essential. Sleep, nutrition, exercise, recovery, stress management. These factors influence productivity more than many people realize. A healthy body reduces behavioral resistance, and reduced resistance improves consistency. The productivity shortcut. Many people search for productivity shortcuts, secret techniques, advanced strategies, complex systems. Often the most effective shortcut is simpler. Reduce friction. Make important behaviors easier. Make unimportant behaviors harder. Create supportive environments. Prepare in advance. Eliminate obstacles. The results can be remarkable. Because productivity frequently depends less on effort and more on design. Building a low-friction life. Imagine waking up each day in an environment designed for success. Your priorities are clear. Your workspace is organized. Your routines are established. Your distractions are controlled. Your habits are supported. The friction is minimal. Progress becomes easier. Not because you changed your personality, because you changed your environment. And environment influences behavior. Behavior influences outcomes. Outcomes influence life. The flow of momentum. Momentum thrives where friction is low. Every obstacle removed makes progress easier. Every distraction eliminated protects focus. Every supportive system strengthens consistency. The momentum machine operates most effectively when resistance is minimized. The gears turn smoothly. The systems function efficiently. The habits operate automatically. Progress accelerates. This is the true power of friction reduction. Not making life effortless. Making success easier. And easier success becomes more consistent success. Because lifelong productivity is not built by constantly pushing harder. It is built by designing a life where productive action becomes the natural choice. That is how momentum grows. That is how flow emerges. And that is how ordinary habits create extraordinary results. Chapter 7. Building the Daily Momentum Machine. Momentum is powerful, but momentum does not appear by accident. It is created, protected, strengthened. And one of the most effective ways to build momentum is through daily routines. Every high-performing individual has routines. Not because routines are exciting. Not because routines are glamorous. Because routines create consistency. Consistency creates momentum. Momentum creates results. The truth is simple. Your life is largely the result of what you do every day. Not what you do occasionally. Not what you do when you feel inspired. Not what you do during rare moments of motivation. What you do repeatedly. Your daily actions become habits. Your habits become systems. Your systems become outcomes. And your outcomes become your life. This chapter explores how to build a daily momentum machine, a collection of routines and systems that create steady forward progress regardless of mood, motivation, or circumstances. Why daily routines matter. Many people underestimate routines. They view them as restrictive, boring, predictable. Yet routines are one of the most powerful tools for productivity. A routine removes uncertainty. It eliminates unnecessary decisions. It creates structure. And structure reduces resistance. Without routines, every day begins from zero. The individual must decide what to do, when to do it, how to do it. These decisions consume energy. With routines, the decisions have already been made. The behavior becomes automatic. Momentum is preserved. The power of starting strong. The beginning of the day often influences everything that follows. A productive morning creates momentum. A distracted morning creates friction. This does not mean you must wake up at a specific hour or follow a complicated schedule. It means beginning intentionally. The first actions of the day matter. They set the tone. They influence attention. They shape energy. They affect decision-making. Small victories early in the day often create momentum that continues for hours. Creating a morning momentum ritual. A morning ritual is not about perfection. It is about consistency. The goal is creating a reliable starting point. A simple morning routine might include waking up at a consistent time, drinking water, reviewing goals, reading for a few minutes, exercising briefly, planning priorities. The specific activities matter less than the consistency. The ritual signals the brain, the day has begun. Progress begins now. Repeated daily, this routine becomes a powerful momentum trigger. Protecting the first hour of the day is valuable. Unfortunately, many people surrender it immediately. They check messages, browse social media, consume random information, react to other people's priorities. The result is scattered attention, reduced focus, lost momentum. Protecting the first hour creates a significant advantage. Use it intentionally. Think, plan, learn, create. Work on meaningful goals. Start the day by moving your own priorities forward. The importance of priority work. Not all tasks are equal. Some activities create significant progress. Others create the illusion of progress. Successful people identify high-value activities, then perform them consistently. These activities become priorities. The daily momentum machine revolves around priority work. Every day should include at least one meaningful action connected to long-term goals. The action may be small, but it must exist. Daily progress matters more than occasional intensity. The momentum block. One powerful strategy is creating a momentum block. A dedicated period focused on important work. No distractions. No multitasking. No interruptions. The objective is concentrated progress. Even 30 minutes can be effective. The momentum block protects attention, builds consistency, creates measurable progress, and reinforces productive identity. Over time, it becomes one of the most valuable parts of the day. The midday momentum challenge. Many people begin the day well, then lose focus. Energy declines, distractions increase, responsibilities accumulate, momentum weakens. This is normal. The solution is intentional maintenance. Just as a machine requires occasional adjustments, momentum requires reinforcement. Simple actions help. Reviewing priorities, taking short walks, hydrating, stretching, completing a small productive task. These actions help maintain forward movement. The goal is preventing momentum from disappearing entirely. Managing energy throughout the day. Productivity is not only about time management. It is about energy management. A person with abundant energy often accomplishes more in 1 hour than an exhausted person accomplishes in 3. Energy influences focus, decision-making, creativity, consistency. This is why the daily momentum machine includes energy management, sleep, nutrition, movement, recovery. These habits support performance. The system becomes stronger because the individual becomes stronger. Deep work and momentum. Deep work is focused, uninterrupted effort directed toward meaningful tasks. It is one of the fastest ways to build momentum. Unfortunately, modern life often encourages shallow work, constant interruptions, notifications, multitasking, digital distractions. These activities fragment attention. Momentum suffers. Deep work creates the opposite effect. Focus increases. Progress accelerates. Flow becomes possible. The momentum machine thrives on deep work because deep work creates visible movement. And visible movement strengthens motivation. The productivity anchors create stability. They are fixed points in the day that remain consistent. Examples include A morning routine, a daily planning session, a workout, an evening review. Anchors provide structure, even when life becomes unpredictable, even when schedules change. The anchor remains. This consistency helps protect momentum. The individual always has a starting point, a reliable routine, a familiar process. Anchors create resilience. Eliminating productivity leaks. Imagine trying to fill a bucket full of holes. No matter how much water you add, progress remains limited. Many people experience productivity the same way. They work hard, yet distractions constantly drain progress. These distractions are productivity leaks. Examples include excessive social media use, unnecessary meetings, constant interruptions, poor planning, disorganization. Eliminating leaks often improves productivity more than working harder. Because productivity is not only about creating momentum, it is also about protecting momentum. Building an evening reset ritual. The day should not end randomly. An intentional ending improves future performance. An evening reset ritual prepares the next day for success. Examples include reviewing accomplishments, planning tomorrow's priorities, organizing the workspace, reflecting on lessons learned, expressing gratitude. These actions create closure. The mind relaxes. Preparation improves. The next day begins with less friction. Momentum becomes easier to maintain. The power of daily tracking. Tracking provides feedback. Feedback improves awareness. Awareness improves behavior. The daily momentum machine benefits from simple tracking systems. Track important habits, daily priorities, completed tasks, consistency streaks. The objective is not perfection. The objective is visibility. Visible progress creates motivation. Motivation supports momentum. Momentum supports productivity. Building an unbreakable routine. An effective routine is not rigid. It is resilient. Life will create interruptions, unexpected events, travel, stress, illness, challenges. The goal is not maintaining perfection. The goal is maintaining continuity. Even reduced versions of habits matter. A short workout, a single page, a brief review. These actions preserve momentum, and preserved momentum prevents unnecessary restarts. The daily momentum formula. The daily momentum machine can be simplified into a formula. Clarity plus consistency plus focus plus energy equals momentum. Clarity determines direction. Consistency creates repetition. Focus increases effectiveness. Energy sustains performance. Together, these elements create momentum. Momentum drives productivity. Productivity drives progress. Progress drives results. The compounding nature of daily action. One productive day may not change your life. One productive week may not change your life. One productive month may not change your life. But productive days accumulate. Weeks accumulate. Months accumulate. Years accumulate. The effects compound. Skills improve. Confidence grows. Opportunities expand. Results accelerate. The daily momentum machine creates these outcomes through repetition. Not dramatic effort. Consistent effort. Becoming the person who shows up. At its core, productivity is not about achieving perfection. It is about becoming the type of person who consistently shows up. The person who honors commitments, follows systems, protects momentum, returns after setbacks, and continues moving forward. Daily routines make this possible, because every day becomes another opportunity to reinforce identity, another opportunity to create progress, another opportunity to strengthen momentum. The machine never stops. The most powerful productivity systems are not built around motivation. They are built around consistency. The daily momentum machine functions whether motivation is present or absent. The routines continue. The habits continue. The systems continue. The momentum continues. And over time, that consistency creates extraordinary results. Because success is rarely the product of one great day. It is the product of many ordinary days connected together by momentum. That is the power of a daily momentum machine. And once it is built, it becomes one of the most valuable assets you will ever possess. Chapter 8. The compound effect of consistency. Most people dramatically overestimate what they can achieve in a few days. At the same time, they dramatically underestimate what they can achieve in a few years. This misunderstanding causes countless people to quit too early. They expect immediate transformation, immediate success, immediate rewards. When those rewards fail to appear, motivation declines, doubt increases, momentum disappears. The individual abandons the process. What they fail to recognize is that success rarely arrives on a predictable schedule. Progress often accumulates quietly, invisible at first, then suddenly undeniable. This phenomenon is known as the compound effect. The compound effect is one of the most powerful forces in personal growth. It explains why small actions create large outcomes, why habits matter, why momentum matters, why consistency matters, and why ordinary daily behaviors can eventually produce extraordinary results. Understanding the compound effect changes how you approach productivity. You stop chasing quick wins. You start building long-term advantages. And those advantages can transform every area of life. Understanding compounding. Most people associate compounding with money. Investments grow over time. Interest earns additional interest. Growth accelerates. The same principle applies to human behavior. Skills compound. Knowledge compounds. Relationships compound. Health compounds. Habits compound. Productivity compounds. Every positive action creates a small benefit. That benefit creates opportunities for future benefits. Over time, growth accelerates. The process is gradual, then exponential. The challenge is that the early stages appear insignificant, which is why so many people quit before experiencing the rewards. The invisible phase. One of the most frustrating parts of personal growth is the invisible phase. This is the period when effort exceeds visible results. You work, practice, learn, improve. Yet little appears to change. The gap between effort and reward creates doubt. People begin questioning the process. They wonder whether the effort matters. They wonder whether progress is occurring. The answer is yes. Progress often happens beneath the surface first. The roots develop before the tree grows. The foundation develops before the structure appears. The habit develops before the result becomes visible. The invisible phase is not evidence of failure. It is often evidence that growth is occurring. Why consistency wins? Imagine two individuals. One works intensely for a short period, then quits. The other works steadily for years. The first person experiences temporary progress. The second person experiences compounding progress. Consistency creates accumulation. Accumulation creates momentum. Momentum creates acceleration. Acceleration creates remarkable results. This is why consistency frequently outperforms intensity. Intensity creates excitement. Consistency creates transformation. The individual who keeps showing up gains an enormous advantage over time. Small improvements create big differences. Imagine improving a skill by only 1% each day. The improvement seems meaningless. Too small to matter. Too small to notice. Yet the improvement compounds. Days become weeks. Weeks become months. Months become years. The accumulated effect becomes extraordinary. This principle applies everywhere. Reading, writing, fitness, business, communication, leadership, learning. The daily improvement may be tiny. The long-term improvement may be life-changing. The power of repetition. Repetition is the engine of compounding. Every repetition strengthens a skill, strengthens a habit, strengthens an identity. The action itself may appear ordinary. The accumulated impact becomes extraordinary. A musician improves through repeated practice. A writer improves through repeated writing. An athlete improves through repeated training. A productive person improves through repeated execution. The secret is not complexity. The secret is repetition. Consistent repetition creates mastery. Compounding knowledge. Knowledge is one of the most powerful examples of compounding. Each idea connects to other ideas. Each lesson builds upon previous lessons. Each book expands understanding. Each experience adds perspective. The process accelerates over time. The more you learn, the easier learning becomes. Patterns become visible. Connections become clearer. Understanding deepens. This is why lifelong learners often experience extraordinary growth. They benefit from decades of accumulated knowledge. The compound effect is working quietly in the background. Compounding confidence. Confidence also compounds. Many people assume confidence appears suddenly. It does not. Confidence is accumulated evidence. Every promise kept strengthens confidence. Every challenge overcome strengthens confidence. Every productive action strengthens confidence. Over time, self-trust grows. The individual develops certainty, not because they are perfect, because they possess evidence. The evidence has accumulated through consistent action. This confidence becomes a competitive advantage. Because confident people act more often, and action creates more opportunities for growth. The momentum multiplier. Momentum and compounding work together. Momentum increases consistency. Consistency increases repetition. Repetition increases compounding. Compounding creates results. Results strengthen momentum. The cycle reinforces itself. This is why productive people often appear unstoppable. The system is working. The habits are working. The momentum is working. The compound effect is working. Multiple forces are operating simultaneously. The advantages accumulate. The gap widens. Success accelerates. The cost of inconsistency. If positive actions compound, negative actions compound as well. Missed workouts accumulate. Poor habits accumulate. Procrastination accumulates. Distractions accumulate. Small negative decisions repeated consistently produce significant consequences. This reality is important because it highlights the value of daily choices. Each decision matters, not because of its immediate effect, because of its accumulated effect. Tiny behaviors repeated often enough shape entire futures. Delayed gratification and growth. The compound effect rewards patience. Unfortunately, modern culture often rewards immediacy. Instant entertainment. Instant information. Instant communication. As a result, many people struggle with delayed gratification. They want immediate results. Immediate rewards. Immediate evidence. Compounding does not operate that way. The rewards arrive later. The effort comes first. The individual must trust the process. This trust becomes a significant advantage. Because most people abandon the process before the rewards arrive. The long game mindset. People who understand compounding think differently. They focus less on daily results. More on daily actions. Less on immediate outcomes. More on long-term trajectories. They ask questions like, what happens if I continue this habit for 5 years? What happens if I continue learning for 10 years? What happens if I remain consistent? This perspective creates patience. Patience supports consistency. Consistency fuels compounding. The cycle becomes self-reinforcing. Why most people quit too soon? Many people stop just before progress becomes visible. They quit during the invisible phase. The difficult phase. The uncertain phase. The phase where effort feels disconnected from reward. This is unfortunate. Because compounding often produces dramatic growth after long periods of quiet accumulation. The breakthrough appears sudden. The preparation was gradual. People see the result. They rarely see the years of consistency behind it. The value of staying in the game. One of the greatest advantages in life is simply remaining in the game. Continuing. Persisting. Showing up. Many opportunities emerge only after long periods of consistency. Relationships deepen. Skills improve. Knowledge expands. Reputation strengthen. Trust grows. The individual benefits from accumulated effort. The key is remaining consistent long enough to experience the rewards. Building a compounding life. Imagine designing your life around activities that compound. Reading, learning, investing, exercising, building relationships, developing skills, creating valuable work. Each activity generates returns. Those returns generate additional returns. The process accelerates. Life improves gradually, then dramatically. This is the power of compounding. Not dramatic effort. Consistent effort. The snowball effect. Imagine rolling a small snowball down a hill. At first, it moves slowly. The growth is minimal. Then the snowball gathers more snow. It becomes larger, heavier, more powerful. Growth accelerates. The same thing happens with productivity. The first habit feels difficult. The first month feels slow. The first year feels modest. Then momentum grows. Skills improve. Systems strengthen. Confidence expands. Results accelerate. The snowball becomes unstoppable. Trusting the process. One of the most important lessons in productivity is learning to trust the process. Trust the habits. Trust the routines. Trust the systems. Trust the consistency. Do not judge progress solely by today's results. Evaluate progress by today's actions. Actions are within your control. Results often require time. The compound effect rewards those who remain patient. Those who continue. Those who stay committed. The extraordinary power of ordinary days. Most success stories are built from ordinary days. Ordinary workouts. Ordinary study sessions. Ordinary work periods. Ordinary habits. Nothing appears extraordinary, yet the accumulation becomes extraordinary. This is the beauty of the compound effect. It allows ordinary actions to create extraordinary outcomes. The person does not need exceptional talent, exceptional luck, exceptional circumstances. They need consistency, and consistency compounds. The future is being built today. Every day contributes to the future. Every habit contributes. Every action contributes. Every decision contributes. The effects may not appear immediately. That is normal. Compounding requires time. The important thing is continuing. Maintaining momentum. Protecting consistency. Trusting the process. Because the future is not built through isolated moments of greatness. It is built through repeated actions performed consistently over time. That is the true power of the compound effect. And it is one of the strongest engines inside your momentum machine. Chapter 9. Recovering from failure, setbacks, and lost momentum. No matter how effective your systems become, setbacks are inevitable. No productivity system is perfect. No habit streak lasts forever. No journey unfolds exactly as planned. At some point, life will interrupt your momentum. You will miss a workout. Skip a habit. Delay a project. Lose focus. Experience disappointment. Face unexpected challenges. This is not a sign that your system is broken. It is a sign that you are human. One of the biggest misconceptions about successful people is that they never fail. The truth is very different. Successful people fail. They make mistakes. They experience setbacks. They lose momentum. The difference is not that they avoid failure. The difference is that they recover faster. They understand an important principle. Success is not determined by how often you fall. It is determined by how quickly you return. This chapter explores how to recover from setbacks, rebuild momentum, and continue moving forward when life does not go according to plan. The myth of perfect consistency. Many people believe productivity requires perfection. They imagine successful individuals following every habit flawlessly, never missing a day, never making mistakes, never struggling. This belief creates unnecessary pressure, and pressure often creates failure. Perfection is unrealistic. Life is unpredictable. Schedules change. Emergencies happen. Energy fluctuates. Unexpected challenges appear. The goal is not perfection. The goal is persistence. The objective is maintaining progress over the long term. A missed day does not destroy progress. Quitting does. Why people quit? Most people do not quit because of one mistake. They quit because of how they interpret the mistake. A missed workout becomes, "I'm failing." A missed deadline becomes, "I'm not disciplined enough." A broken habit streak becomes, "I always quit." The behavior itself is not the problem. The interpretation creates the problem. One mistake becomes a story. The story becomes an identity. The identity influences future behavior. This negative cycle can destroy momentum. Fortunately, it can also be interrupted. The difference between falling and staying down: every productive person falls behind occasionally. The key distinction is recovery. Imagine two individuals. Both miss a habit. The first person becomes discouraged. They stop trying. Days become weeks. Weeks become months. Momentum disappears. The second person misses the habit, acknowledges the mistake, returns the next day. Momentum survives. The setback remains small. The difference is not talent, not intelligence, not motivation. The difference is recovery. The never miss twice rule. One of the most effective productivity principles is simple: never miss twice. Missing once is an event. Missing twice is the beginning of a new habit. The occasional setback is normal. Repeated setbacks create patterns. The goal is not avoiding every mistake. The goal is preventing mistakes from becoming routines. Miss a workout. Exercise tomorrow. Skip a reading session. Read the next day. Lose focus. Refocus quickly. Protect the return. The return matters more than the mistake. Failure is information. Many people view failure emotionally. They see failure as evidence of weakness, incompetence, inadequacy. A more productive perspective exists. Failure is information. It reveals weaknesses in systems, highlights obstacles, exposes friction, provides feedback. Instead of asking, "Why am I failing?" ask, "What is this experience teaching me?" The question changes everything. Failure becomes useful, valuable, educational, and growth accelerates. Separating identity from outcomes. One reason setbacks feel painful is because people connect outcomes to identity. A failed project becomes, "I am a failure." A missed habit becomes, "I am lazy." A mistake becomes, "I am incapable." These conclusions are inaccurate. Behavior and identity are not the same thing. A mistake is an event, not a permanent characteristic. The productive approach is separating the two. You failed at something. You are not a failure. This distinction protects confidence, and confidence protects momentum. The momentum recovery process. Whenever momentum disappears, recovery follows a predictable pattern. Step 1. Accept reality. Do not deny the setback. Acknowledge it honestly. The habit was missed. The project was delayed. The routine was interrupted. Acceptance eliminates unnecessary emotional resistance. Step 2. Remove judgment. Avoid self-criticism. Blame rarely improves performance. Focus on solutions, not punishment. Step 3. Identify the cause. What happened? Why did momentum disappear? What obstacle appeared? What friction increased? Understanding the cause improves future performance. Step 4. Restart small. Do not attempt dramatic recovery. Begin with a small action, a tiny habit, a manageable task. Movement matters more than intensity. Step 5. Rebuild momentum. Consistency returns gradually. Allow momentum to grow naturally. Trust the process. The danger of all or nothing thinking. All or nothing thinking destroys productivity. People believe, "If I cannot do everything, I should do nothing." This mindset creates unnecessary setbacks. Imagine missing a workout. An all-or-nothing thinker quits. A momentum thinker adapts. Maybe the workout becomes shorter. Maybe the intensity decreases. But movement continues. The objective is maintaining continuity, not perfection. Small actions preserve momentum, and preserved momentum accelerates recovery. Resilience. The ultimate productivity skill. Resilience is the ability to continue despite difficulty. It is one of the most valuable skills in life. Because challenges are unavoidable, unexpected events are unavoidable, setbacks are unavoidable. Resilience allows progress to continue anyway. The resilient individual understands, failure is temporary. Mistakes are temporary. Setbacks are temporary. Momentum can be rebuilt. Progress can resume. Growth can continue. This perspective creates strength. The emotional side of recovery. Setbacks are not only practical challenges. They are emotional challenges. Disappointment appears. Frustration appears. Doubt appears. These emotions are normal. The key is not eliminating them. The key is preventing them from controlling behavior. Feelings influence action, but they do not have to determine action. The productive person continues moving forward despite temporary emotional discomfort. Building recovery systems. Most people build systems for success. Few build systems for failure. This is a mistake. Recovery systems are essential. Examples include a habit restart checklist, weekly reviews, accountability partners, progress tracking, reflection journals. These systems make recovery easier. And easier recovery protects momentum. Learning from setbacks. Every setback contains lessons. The challenge is finding them. Ask questions such as, what caused this interruption? What could I improve? What warning signs did I miss? How can I prevent this in the future? Reflection transforms setbacks into education. Education improves future performance. The setback becomes an investment in growth. Why long-term thinkers recover faster? People with long-term perspectives recover more easily. They understand that one mistake does not determine the future. One missed habit does not destroy years of progress. One bad week does not eliminate long-term potential. This perspective creates patience. Patience reduces emotional reactions. Reduced emotional reactions improve recovery. The individual remains focused on the journey rather than isolated events. Momentum is easier to rebuild than you think. Many people assume that once momentum disappears, starting again will be impossible. Fortunately, previous effort creates advantages. Skills remain. Knowledge remains. Experience remains. Habits may weaken, but they do not disappear entirely. The foundation still exists. This makes rebuilding easier than beginning from zero. The key is taking the first step, then the second, then the third. Momentum returns through movement, just as it was created originally. The growth perspective. People with growth-oriented mindsets interpret setbacks differently. They see obstacles as temporary, challenges as educational, failures as feedback. This perspective transforms the recovery process. The individual remains curious, flexible, persistent. Growth continues because learning continues. And learning accelerates progress. Returning to the process when setbacks occur, focus on the process, not the outcome. Return to the habit. Return to the routine. Return to the system. The process creates results. The process rebuilds confidence. The process restores momentum. Trust the process. It worked before. It will work again. The comeback advantage. There is a hidden benefit in recovering from setbacks. Recovery builds confidence. Every comeback becomes proof. Proof that you can adapt. Proof that you can continue. Proof that temporary failure does not define you. This confidence becomes valuable. Because future challenges become less intimidating. You know you can recover. You have done it before. Momentum is not fragile. Many people treat momentum as fragile. Something that disappears permanently after mistakes. Momentum is stronger than that. It can be interrupted. But it can also be rebuilt, strengthened, restored. The key is refusing to stay down, continuing to move, continuing to learn, continuing to adapt. Because lifelong productivity is not about avoiding setbacks. It is about overcoming them. Not about perfection. About persistence. Not about never losing momentum. About always finding your way back. That is the mindset that creates lasting success. And that mindset turns temporary failures into stepping stones toward extraordinary achievement. Chapter 10. The Momentum Machine Lifestyle. Sustaining productivity for life. Most people think productivity is about getting more done, completing more tasks, working longer hours, checking more items off a list. While these things may increase output, they do not necessarily create a meaningful life. True productivity is not about doing more. It is about becoming more. More intentional. More focused. More consistent. More capable. More aligned with your values and goals. This distinction matters because productivity is not a temporary project. It is not a 30-day challenge. Not a motivational phase. Not a seasonal effort. Productivity is a lifestyle, a way of operating, a way of thinking, a way of moving through life. The ultimate goal of the momentum machine is not merely helping you achieve a specific objective. The ultimate goal is helping you create a life where progress becomes natural, where growth becomes continuous, where productive behavior becomes part of who you are. This final chapter explores how to sustain momentum for years, decades, and ultimately a lifetime. The difference between a goal and a lifestyle. Goals have finish lines. Lifestyles do not. A goal may be losing weight, writing a book, building a business, learning a skill, saving money. Once the goal is achieved, the process often stops. The motivation disappears. The routines fade. The progress slows. A lifestyle operates differently. A healthy person continues healthy habits after reaching a fitness goal. A writer continues writing after finishing a book. A learner continues learning after mastering a subject. The behavior becomes permanent. This is one of the most important shifts in personal growth. Stop focusing only on goals. Start building lifestyles. Goals provide direction. Lifestyles create permanence. Success is a system, not an event. Many people treat success as an event. A single moment. A specific achievement. A destination. In reality, success is usually a process. A collection of habits, systems, routines, daily choices. The visible achievement is simply the result of years of invisible actions. The promotion, the book, the business, the transformation. These outcomes are consequences. The system created them. This perspective changes everything. Instead of asking, "How can I achieve success?" you begin asking, "What system creates success?" The focus shifts from outcomes to processes. And processes are far more controllable. Living in alignment. One of the greatest sources of productivity is alignment. Alignment occurs when your actions match your values. Your habits support your goals. Your routines support your priorities. Your daily behavior reflects your long-term vision. When alignment exists, productivity feels natural. Energy increases. Motivation becomes more stable. Resistance decreases. Many people struggle because their actions conflict with their objectives. They want progress, but their habits create stagnation. They want growth, but their routines create distraction. The momentum machine lifestyle creates alignment, and alignment creates power. Designing a life that supports success. Many people focus on improving themselves. Few focus on improving the systems surrounding them. Yet environment influences behavior. Relationships influence behavior. Schedules influence behavior. Technology influences behavior. The productive individual intentionally designs these factors. They create environments that encourage focus. Relationships that support growth. Schedules that prioritize important work. Technology habits that protect attention. The result is a life that naturally supports progress. Success becomes easier because the system supports it. The importance of adaptability. No system remains perfect forever. Life changes. Goals change. Responsibilities change. Circumstances change. A productive lifestyle requires adaptability. The systems must evolve. The routines must evolve. The habits must evolve. Flexibility prevents stagnation. It allows growth to continue. The objective is not creating a rigid structure. The objective is creating a resilient structure. One that can adjust without losing momentum. Sustainable productivity. Many productivity strategies fail because they are unsustainable. They require excessive effort, excessive time, excessive sacrifice. The individual eventually burns out. The momentum machine lifestyle emphasizes sustainability. Can the habit continue for years? Can the routine survive difficult periods? Can the system adapt to change? If the answer is no, the system requires improvement. Sustainability matters because consistency matters. And consistency requires longevity. Avoiding burnout. Burnout occurs when demands exceed recovery. The individual continues pushing, ignoring fatigue, ignoring stress, ignoring warning signs. Eventually performance declines, motivation disappears, progress stops. Burnout is not a productivity badge. It is a productivity failure. The momentum machine lifestyle includes recovery, rest, sleep, reflection, leisure, relationships, health. These elements support long-term performance. Recovery is not the opposite of productivity. Recovery is part of productivity. The lifelong learning advantage. One of the most productive habits a person can develop is continuous learning. The world changes. Industries change. Technology changes. Opportunities change. People who continue learning remain adaptable, relevant, capable, curious. Knowledge compounds. Skills compound. Experience compounds. The learning process never truly ends. And that is a tremendous advantage. Because growth remains possible at every stage of life. Building a legacy of consistency. Many people chase dramatic achievements. Few appreciate the power of consistency. Yet consistency creates trust, credibility, competence, respect. The individual who consistently shows up becomes reliable. The individual who consistently improves becomes exceptional. The individual who consistently contributes creates lasting value. Legacy is often built through consistency. Not isolated moments of brilliance, but repeated acts of excellence. Day after day, year after year. The role of reflection. Momentum requires action. It also requires reflection. Without reflection, mistakes repeat. Lessons disappear. Growth slows. Reflection creates awareness. Awareness improves decisions. Improved decisions strengthen systems. Simple reflection questions can be powerful. What worked? What did not work? What should continue? What should change? The answers provide guidance. And guidance improves future performance. Protecting what matters most. Productivity is not about maximizing every minute. It is about maximizing what matters. Health matters. Relationships matter. Purpose matters. Growth matters. Contribution matters. The momentum machine lifestyle prioritizes these areas. Because productivity without meaning creates emptiness. The objective is not merely accomplishing more. The objective is creating a better life. Becoming your future self. Every action influences the future. Every habit contributes. Every decision matters. The person you become tomorrow is being shaped today. This realization creates responsibility, but it also creates opportunity. You are not trapped by your past. Your future is influenced by your current actions. Each productive choice strengthens the person you are becoming. Each positive habit reinforces your future identity. The process continues every day. The long-term view. Life is not built in a day, a week, or a month. It is built gradually, through repeated choices, repeated habits, repeated actions. The long-term perspective creates patience. Patience supports consistency. Consistency fuels momentum. Momentum drives growth. Growth creates transformation. The individual who understands this principle stops chasing shortcuts. They focus on sustainable progress. And sustainable progress wins. The momentum mindset. At its core, the momentum machine lifestyle is a mindset. A way of approaching challenges. A way of approaching growth. A way of approaching life. The mindset includes several beliefs. Small actions matter. Consistency beats intensity. Systems beat willpower. Identity shapes behavior. Failure is feedback. Momentum can always be rebuilt. Growth is lifelong. These beliefs guide decisions, shape habits, and influence outcomes. The everyday advantage. Many people search for extraordinary solutions, extraordinary strategies, extraordinary secrets. The truth is simpler. Extraordinary results are often produced by ordinary behaviors repeated consistently. The workout, the reading session, the planning ritual, the productive hour, the healthy meal, the difficult conversation, the daily improvement. These actions appear small, yet they accumulate. They compound. They create momentum, and momentum changes lives. Your momentum machine. At this point, you understand the principles. You understand habits, systems, identity, consistency, compounding, recovery, flow. The challenge now is implementation. Knowledge alone changes nothing. Action changes everything. The momentum machine is not built through reading. It is built through doing. One habit at a time. One routine at a time. One productive day at a time. The process begins with a single action. Then another. Then another. Momentum grows. Confidence grows. Results grow. Life changes. Final thoughts. The greatest lesson of this book is simple. You do not need extraordinary discipline to create extraordinary results. You need systems. You need habits. You need consistency. You need momentum. Productivity is not about forcing yourself to work harder every day. It is about designing a life where progress becomes natural. A life where good habits operate automatically. A life where setbacks are temporary. A life where growth never stops. That is the power of the momentum machine. Not a burst of motivation. Not a short-term challenge. A lifelong system for continuous progress. And beginning today, that system is yours to build.